Welcome back to the channel, guys. Hope everyone is doing great. This is just a short reaction on Marty's impressions of the Commander, a wheel that I want, specifically the high-speed MSP. He's reviewing the torque MSP. Now, I can't imagine that these wheels will be vastly different in terms of the control boards. One is high speed, one is torque, one is limited to 40 miles an hour, the other is like 50 plus. So the main reason I'm watching this is because of the overheating that he's experienced in his last test, and he did add some modification, or at least implemented some modifications suggested both by Ewheels and Gateway. And yeah, let's just take a quick look and see if that changes my mind, see if that changes your mind. Yeah, let's see what's going on. This is the first batch, so anyone who's purchased their first batch wheel might have to implement this mod on their own. So let's take a quick look. If you don't know about Marty, check out his channel. He does a lot of reviews on wheels, but mostly he tests these wheels, usually to their limits in terms of not speed, but in terms of their durability. So overheat hill test, if you don't know about that, range test, and he also opens them up to see how well the quality is in terms of wire gauges, battery setup, circuit board setup, everything. So definitely check him out, and hopefully he'll be of great help to you. I know right now he's being of great help to me because I didn't think overheating would be an issue with this wheel. But considering that it's high speed, any high performance wheel, any high performance anything in terms of electronics is going to need cooling, very advanced cooling. So let's see what he has to say.
I'm with the Commander, and I'm about to perform some surgery on it to see if I can improve the cooling. I'm having a blast with it so far, but it does run hot. And you may have seen a video I recently published where I did a test with the Sherman.
Now, what I like so far is that he likes the wheel. Okay, so right out of the gate, he says it's a great wheel. He's having a blast. All thumbs up. Negative, it's overheating.
Hey guys, I'm here with Sam, and we are going to do another wheel test going up to Mount Baldy. We're going to be climbing about 5,000 feet, I think, thereabouts today, and I'm testing the Commander from Ewheels. Sam is on his Sherman, and so it's great. We're going to be able to compare direct comparison between the Sherman and the Commander in terms of I'm kind of mainly interested in the temperature, but we'll also kind of compare voltages when we get to the top. And Sam ride it for some miles while we're cruising. You already rode a little bit, and what was your kind of initial impressions?
I like the robustness of it. It's very robust. Like the torque, I could appreciate the torque.
And you're calling it you felt like a little bit of a rocket, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So 2 out of 2. They both love the wheel. Good feedback, especially coming from one who has the Sherman. And as you know, the Commander mimics the Sherman in terms of its dimensions, feel, agility, everything.
So even though it doesn't have, so Sam is one of these crazy guys that likes to go as fast as you can possibly go. So that's the downside of the Commander, the high torque version. It's probably only safe up to about 40, but below that, it's pretty torquey. Okay, well, so far I'm loving the power in this guy, and it rides just really nice. It's a great riding wheel. Nothing bad to say about that. I mean, as long as you don't need to go 40 plus miles an hour, this thing moves. Super solid, very stable. Unfortunately, it's running hot. It's running at least 10 degrees Celsius hotter than the Sherman. The problem is it just has no fresh air intake, essentially. It's got these little tiny holes. They don't do anything really. Now we're moving. We're going between 25, 28 miles an hour up a mountain. So we're definitely making this guy work. If you're a flatland rider, the overheating may not be an issue at all for you. 66.
52.
Sherman 52 and I'm at 66. Crazy. I'm never gonna make it. Well, I'll make it up the mountain, but I'm gonna have to stop a few times because if it's 66.
What's interesting is he's on a flat. I know he says he's going up to a $5,000. I know he said he's going to up to. I know he said he's climbing up to 5,000 feet elevation, but for the most part, it looked like he was on flat and sometimes even downhill. But either way, he wasn't going above 30 miles an hour, and he definitely wasn't doing any crazy hard torquing or carving like his friend was in the back. And this thing is overheating, and that's pretty wild, man.
Now, it's just gonna overheat at that
77 for sure. That's when right before it'll tilt back.
Yeah, so that sucks, but I did kind of predict that on my when I first started riding this. But I think like, you know, if I get this, my fix will be I'm gonna add a giant air scoop. There's plenty of room right in the front here to put a big opening. I think if you're riding in the flats, it's gonna run hot, but I don't think it would overheat.
I didn't show this in the video, but he switched wheels with his friend. So his friend had the Sherman, and they switched out. So his friend is blasting with the Commander right now, trying to feel it out.
Look at the difference, guys. 48 to 63 degrees. That's Celsius. Huge difference. So it's pretty consistent. Sam is a very, I don't know if you picked it up, and he's a very aggressive rider. So he's pumping it and leaning it, and we're going up a mountain, by the way. We reclined about 5,000 feet up a mountain. Temperature was in the lower 80s Fahrenheit. And we demonstrated conclusively that this runs 15 to 20 degrees Celsius hotter than the Sherman. And, you know, that's significant. And Gotway saw that video and a little bit concerned, and I guess they looked into it further and they agreed that, yeah, this is running.
Interesting is just a quick note. I did ask him in an earlier video, probably one of his first regarding this, or second, did he feel if the wheel was rushed? And from the looks of it, because he hadn't done that test yet, he said no. But now clearly we can see that Gotway did not, or Extreme Bull did not pay enough attention to cooling. That's a shame.
That, yeah, this is running hot and they need to do something about it. And they did. They found a solution. And that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to implement my version of their fix. First, let me show you how air gets in and out of this wheel currently. Now, this is...
First thing I noticed is your speakers are going to get extremely dirty. Obviously, if you have an MSP, you probably experienced this already, but this one is clearly going to get dirty because it's constantly exposed, whereas the MSP, your leg was kind of like in the way.
The back of the wheel, the speaker module. And the control board is up here. So there's access from inside here to a channel that flows below the control board. Kind of like the Sherman, but it looks like a little more constricted than the Sherman. And right here are a series of little holes. That is exhaust from the air that's entering the wheel. And here's the front of the wheel with a corresponding module like in the back.
Looks like he already crashed it a little bit, but that's okay. That's testing.
But this is for the front lights, and you can see here are the intake holes. And in my judgment, these are definitely better than those little holes in the back, though they could probably even be bigger. Now here is inside behind the...
The fact that he has to do all of this cutting, you know, of plastic from a wheel that costs $4,000 says a lot, man. Discount. First batch people need a discount or a refund. I mean, that's a lot of work if you have to implement this. Like, if you have to, you know, I mean, if you don't have to, great, but if you absolutely have to do this, or your wheel burns down, or not burns down, but, you know, you blow your board, then that's just disappointing.
sound module. There's a...
So the heatsink looks robust, in my opinion. It looks really good. I mean, that's a heatsink. That's a solid heatsink, so maybe he's going to explain what's up.
Hole here. And this is supposed to provide the airflow from the front to the back. That's close enough.
So that drilling he did initially, I'm gonna put some money on that. Let's just say that's like 500 bucks. Okay, $500 worth of labor. I don't know. There's two little holes, 50 bucks, maybe 20 bucks each. I mean, wow.
It's a little windy today, not quite as windy as when I was riding with Sam. A little cooler though. It feels like it could be 5 to 10 degrees cooler. I would say it's right now where I'm at, it's about 65 maybe degrees Fahrenheit. It's about 47 degrees right now on the wheel. The upper temperature might be a little cooler than it was last time. I think it got up to about 74 last time. We'll see just how hot it goes. And '69. Okay, 70 degrees, and it's nippy. It's got to be in the 50s at this point, probably high 50s.
High 50s. That's cold where I am, and that thing is still overheating. And he's not even pushing it past 30 miles an hour or any hard torquing or anything like that. Imagine the summertime, man.
Time at this point, I think it was 74 degrees, and again, the temperature was hotter, so I think the reason it's cooler is just the ambient air. I'm going to go back down to where I started, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do next. Okay, I am back down to the starting spot, and now what I'm going to do, if we can make a air duct in this area, and the control board is up here. Not worried about moisture or dust really from getting in this point. I think it's going to run cooler, so I'm going to test that.
Another 500 bucks. So we're at $1,040. Yeah, $1,040 so far in terms of how much work he's put into this. So subtract that from 4,000 and that should be the price of the Sherman. I'm sorry, Commander.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape this temporarily. Okay, there's a big gap in there for air to be rushing in there. So this will be fascinating to see whether it runs super cool. Like,
is that gonna work? I mean, it looks promising.
Like it does when I added air scoops for the Monster. But if this works, this is going to be much easier to do than the Monster. I think I'll just grind out, cut out.
It's basically adding a lip to the eyes. Oh gosh.
A big section underneath. Okay, the starting temperature is about 47, just like before. $68 degrees. That's not too good. Big old gap, lots of airflow, and only a 2-degree improvement, 2 degrees Celsius. That's pretty bad. Like in my Monster Pro, I saw like something like a 20-degree drop in temperatures in Celsius. Huge. Now the difference there was the air was funneled right on top of the control board. Here the air is being funneled underneath the control board across the heatsink. So that's rather unfortunate. I think maybe with some more surgery you could probably get airflow from the front, from that lower area up into the top chamber. A lot more work though. It's really too bad. I think the Commander is going to be just a hot running wheel. Another Gotway hot running wheel. So unfortunate. I'm trying to think of the differences. Like the Sherman has the airflow underneath the heatsink, underneath the control board across the heatsink, but it also has 2 big fans blowing air across the top of the board. This only has 1 fan blowing air across the heatsink below the.
Yeah, that makes sense because, you know, the heatsink draws, you know, heat from the components, you know, allowing them to cool down. But what about a fan on top to assist the components themselves cool down? You know what I mean? Double the cooling. because air on the components is going to assist a lot than just the heatsink by itself. You know what I mean? The heatsink's already doing its job because that's what it does. It's a metal piece that absorbs heat. Now you just need another fan on top of it to push that heat down into the heatsink or away from the components. You know what I mean? But they wouldn't do it.
Below the board, nothing on top of the control board. I'm convinced they could make this a cool running wheel. They just don't put any real, Gotway just doesn't put any real thought into it. They just don't think it's that important. I still love this wheel, but man, I wish it was a cooler running wheel. Oh well. Hope you enjoyed this little experiment. I'm going to put the headlight back in and then enjoy the ride home. Talk to you guys later.
Wow. So that's interesting. That's very interesting. Like I said, my main takeaway is that he likes the wheel. Most reviews I've seen so far, like in Poland and stuff like that, most people love the wheel. But the issue, again, is overheating, and that is a problem for someone like me who likes to ride really hard. You know what I mean? Gotway seemed to have copied Sherman up to a point. You know, it's not a new company like Sherman. They should know about this. In fact, this is not the first wheel that's overheated or overheats in general. So I'm not sure why, besides negligence. I mean, what's the temperature in China mostly? You know what I mean? Is it low, like lower than us on average? Because if that was an issue over there, trust me, they would have addressed it. But maybe it's not an issue. Maybe overheating is not an issue in China. But where does that leave us? You know what I mean? For me, I know the first batch, I'm obviously not getting the first batch because that's usually what happens with these wheels. This is why Ewheels is so important, because they will take the first batch, send it around, and then people will get to experience it. But, and then we'll learn a lot of issues by that time, which could possibly be fixed before the first batch or by the second batch. Unfortunately, a lot of people have already received their first batch, and hopefully that's not an issue for them. His could just be defective. Who knows? That happens. But for me, I'm going to hold off on the first batch. I'll wait for the second batch, and hopefully that issue is fixed by that time. But what does that mean for you guys who have deposits on the Commander? Are you changing your minds? Did you change your mind? Are you going to pull out and choose something else? I know for me, I have already made a decision, and I'll release that in another video, not right now, but I'll tell you what, it's definitely not the Commander, you know, at least not the first batch. So, because I don't want to open a wheel and start cutting things because I absolutely have to, because the company suggested it. I just don't want to do that. You know what I mean? That's something that they should be doing, especially for $4,000. You know, where it's like Gotway gives and Gotway takes away. You know, this could have been an obviously B plus wheel. This could have been a great B plus A wheel. You know, but because of little things like that, which could result in crashes, which could result in malfunctioning of the motherboard, etc., etc. It's just a C. To me, it's a C plus wheel. You know, it's a C, just a C, maybe just a C wheel, because there aren't many components that EUCs, you know, are built around. It's literally a motor, batteries, and a control board, and then the shell. You know what I mean? I mean, without the control board, you don't have a wheel. So it's just crazy that they're negligent on that. But Gotway, come on, man, you gotta pay more attention to that stuff. So let's be thankful to Marty that he did test this in time for me to make a decision and for you to make a decision. This is why it's important to listen to people who, you know, been in the field longer than you. But it would have just been a very expensive order to have to do that. You know what I mean? So I think right now, just reduce the price more. I'm sorry, take the loss, take the hit. You know, unless their fix works, they should just reduce the price, man. That's just insane that we have to do this. You know, they should just absolutely reduce the price, in my opinion. So for those of you who already have this wheel, let me know if this is something that you have experienced. If not, you know, fantastic. But I think I'll have to implement my own methods if that doesn't work, because I do want that wheel. So we'll see. Leave your comments. Did that change your mind? Let me know. Happy riding.